Welcome along to 98 Not Out. Remember, as always, spread the word, tell your friends. Today, I've got a wonderful guest, Mr. Mark Pougatch. We're going to be talking all kinds of things. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Mark, great to see you. Many thanks for joining me on 98 Not Out. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too, Darren. Hope you're well.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I am glad all over, as Dave Clark once said.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind starting with that actually. Many listeners will know that I'm a huge Crystal Palace fan, and the day at Wembley was absolutely the stuff that dreams are made of. If you're a sports fan, if you're a football fan, whatever. Um, and I know you were there with your splendid ITV team to cover the occasion. Obviously, for once, I wasn't watching ITV because I was there, but it just encapsulated to me what true sport is all about. The fact that in the Palace end, you could see grandfathers hugging their sons and grandsons, all of them in tears, and just the joy
yeah.
of the whole thing.
I mean, I didn't have a dog in the race, but I really wanted you to win, and I said you would win. I told my pals all week you'd win. I think I might have said to you before, we have a few quid as a fun bet between us all in the studio as to what the score is going to be. And we all have to take turns in saying, and I was first up. I said 2-1 Palace. So I said straight away, I felt all week the way that you'd played against Aston Villa, completely played a very good Aston Villa team off the park. Obviously, Haaland had played for City the week before, but looked a bit stodgy. What was that in the draw at Southampton? I really thought you'd win. And I was thrilled that you won. The winning goal was amazing. But the thing that struck me most of all, you've just said it, and actually, much as football gets beaten with a massive stick quite often, this season, to see what it's meant to Liverpool, the first time in front of their fans for 35 years, Newcastle, the first time for 70 years, Crystal Palace, first time ever. But, Leeds, I was a goal Bradford City scored to get promoted, Arsenal's women, obviously Tottenham. It's amazing. It makes you realise what it means, the role it plays, why, obviously we're on a cricket podcast, why sport is so important, how it knits together. You've just said it, generations and friends and groups of people, how it shapes people's weeks, how obviously with things like football and rugby, which tends to be played, people look forward to play it, watching at the weekend, just what a pivotal role it plays in society. It really drills it home to you. And just being pitch side and seeing the Palace fans when the cup was lifted and the players were celebrating behind us, it was really moving. It really, really was. I was looking, and the other thing you could see, and we've all been there, we all do this. I do this with my own father, who died a long time ago. You could see how many people there were really missing the person they first went to Palace with. They were really thinking, oh, I wish my mum was here, my dad, my auntie, Jeff, Phil, Susan, whatever. Do you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
really, really, it was so evident. It was a very, very special day. Man City took it very well. They win billions of things. It wasn't their day. They were very sporting about it. Pep, I know people go, well, Pep had a row with Dean Henderson. Look at what else Pep did. Very sporting with all the City players at Glasgow. So I'm not surprised you're still glad all over. You will be all summer. Yeah.
Were your colleagues on the panel unanimous in Palace winning, or were there any City hopes?
No, I think Wrighty thought the Palace were going to win. Now, obviously, he was desperate for them to win because, as he said several times, and he said on that day, had they won in 1990, when he came off, as everyone knows, came off the bench and scored twice, that would have been for him the biggest day of his career, even though he went on to win the cup with Arsenal and the double with Arsenal, blah, blah, blah. So he felt it's Palace's time, third time lucky and all that. No, I think it was funny how many of us thought, no, this really is Palace's day. It really is Palace's day. And then the way that sport goes, I mean, any sport, football, cricket, as soon as the stuff happened with Henderson, you thought, because it's obviously a red card. I mean, it's clearly a red card. And he saved the penalty. You think, well, I've seen this before. I've been to so many football matches, obviously. And there's a moment when you go, I remember when in the Champions League final, when Chelsea first won it, I think it might have even been an extra time, Aaron Robben missed a penalty. I don't know whether you can remember that, at 0-0. And as he missed it, Steve Bruce was working with us. And I turned around and looked at Steve, and we mouthed at each other, Chelsea are going to win now. You just know it, don't you? You can feel the flow of the river of momentum.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And win they did. Um, and I just sort of to continue this theme into, so we've just come to the end of the first block of Red Bull County Cricket.
yeah.
Um, and I feel that what we've been talking about with regard to Crystal Palace and the romance of the FA Cup is there still living and breathing in county cricket. If you go to a county championship game and take your pick from any of the counties, the people that you will find there are those that have the game running through their veins and that same relationship between
Oh,
generations.
I've just come back. So I live in Oxfordshire. I've just come back from Devon, where my big sister lives, and we took our middle sister out for her birthday on the River Exe. It was lovely, and my big sister lives in a little Devon village, and there are I live in the same village in Oxfordshire. There are thousands around the country, and we were in the village hall, and I was doing a few things for them. And the lady who runs the church said, "Oh, I'm a massive Somerset fan, and I will go to all the 4-day games." And the Roux brothers are, we're really behind them, and they've started the season really well. And Tom Banton, then of course he was talking about Archie Vaughan, and I was chatting to her, thinking, you are, absolutely, as you say, you are the bedrock of what people love and feel and emote about cricket in this country, and it's county cricket. That's 4-day cricket, and the thing about 4-day cricket is that lots of us love it. I think I've said to you before, I'm looking at my Sussex rosette here. I know we're on the radio, but here we are. That's from the 1978 Gillette Cup final. It sits on my lampshade in my study. But I haven't been to a county game in Sussex for years. But I look at the scores. I know what they are. I look it up. Who's playing well? I text my friend who's a big Liverpool fan. We grew up together in Sussex. The day Liverpool won the league, Sussex won by 9 wickets at Hampshire. He texts me, "Good old Sussex by the sea." So that they are there. But we've always known they're there. It's just a question of how they're regarded by cricket authorities going forward, isn't it? How important are these people? Do we have to take them into account, or can we run the schedule however we want? Because she said to me on Tuesday, "Well, I know now that we'll have a hiatus quite soon. Obviously, got the Blast starting now, the hiatus with the 100 as well."
Yeah, just to me, it underlines the delicate path that the great and the good have to tread, or should be encouraged to tread.
Yeah.
And I'll use football as an analogy that when big money and the corporate aspect gets involved, and you have teams that win stuff regularly, they go to Wembley all the time. It becomes a bit blasé, and then they start to prioritise what they want to win. And they kind of lose sight of the bottom end of the scale. And cricket, with the money that's coming in with the sale of the 100 stakes and the direction of travel, and I'm told by people that know a lot more than I do that it's all about getting eyeballs on screens and selling the rights around the world. Doesn't matter if the stadium's empty, if it's a T20 from wherever with about 100 people in the stadium. It doesn't matter because there are going to be millions, maybe billions watching on TV. That's what matters.
Yeah, but Darren, it matters to the TV companies. There's no one there. It looks crap. So don't think it doesn't matter to TV, because it does. No one wants to show. Listen, I've been at games we've done live when they go, "Let's point the camera the other way. Don't point it at an empty stand. It looks terrible." So I take your point, but but people on bums on seats still matters.
Yeah, I talked to Ed Warner, who's involved with various bits and pieces. He used to be head of UK athletics, and he said to me that when Friday nights, now you remember, we're similar age, just on Friday nights, you'd have live athletics from Crystal Palace or wherever else. Yeah. And he was told by the BBC at the time, just what you've said, that they don't want to project empty stadia onto a TV screen, because what message is that saying? If people can't be bothered to go up and turn up to watch it, why should I be?
Why should you bother to watch it on the telly? Yeah, completely. No, yeah. It's a very difficult balancing act. It is a very difficult balancing act, because you don't want to irritate, Jean's generation, who I spoke to the other day, has watched cricket all her life. But at the same time, I do get in a competitive leisure marketplace, you want to attract as many boys and girls now. That's the difference between when you and I were kids. No one cared. Let's be blunt. No one cared about the girls 50 years ago, did they? but, probably even 20 years ago. But, thank goodness that's changed. They want to attract as many boys and girls as possible, which is why the 100 is where it is. I think really significant now is the Blast starts today as we're recording this. They were a bit worried about the Blast attendances last year. They were a little bit worried about them. So I think that's going to be quite interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah, exactly. And they've tweaked it slightly, haven't they? They've got for the first time men's and women's games on the same bill. So let's keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Now, how it all played out is a fantastic new podcast. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. Yourself and Paul Hayward. Just give us a little taster of what we can look forward to.
Thank you. Yes. So it's with the good people at Global who do the news agents and the sports agents. So they're a huge behemoth of a media company. And honestly, I had this idea 2.5 years ago, clearly with the huge interest in history podcasts, and we all know the ones that we like to. I said to Paul one day, listen, people love history in this country. There's the evidence. We know they love sport. There is a perfect Venn diagram crossover here of the two. So it is as much a history podcast and a politics podcast, really, as it is a sports podcast. So what we're doing is, and this is as broad as it's tall, Darren, which is the great thing. And we want people to tell us what stories they want us to retell, to recast, but also to look through the prism of today and say, was it what we thought at the time? Is that still what the story is today? Is that still correct today? So to give you some examples, the first two released this week on Global Player are Nelson Mandela and the World Cup in 1995, how he reunited South Africa. What was the story then? Is it still the story today? Is the South Africa today still in some way shaped by his enormous impact during that World Cup and Francois Pienaar on the shirt? And we actually, we don't tend to get guests on, but we thought with that one was so significant, we got Brian Habana on, well, you couldn't get any better.
Wow.
Somebody who was a young man in the stadium that day in Johannesburg, and obviously has won the World Cup himself. And we're going to sort of do it different. We're going to do a couple of sort of what we call opinion pieces. The other one we've released is English football has never been more popular, but the England men's team, and I stress, never get to host the World Cup and probably won't for some time. What's all that about? How can it be so popular? And everyone loves coming to Wembley and Old Trafford and Anfield and Selhurst Park. Why do they, but why do we never host the World Cup? And so we're going through, there's so many great stories. So in the first series, which we've recorded, we've done a cricket one. We've done the story of Bodyline, which is so interesting. My theory, Darren, is this. You, and hopefully lots of your listeners are our target audience. So they go, oh yeah, I know about Bodyline. Harold Larwood bowled really fast. Hit a couple of Aussies on the head. There was a row. Yes, but that's all you know. Do you know what I mean? You know the top 2 or 3 lines. So we're there to tell you, in the length of a podcast, which is 45, 50 minutes, the story, what really went on and the reasons for it. And again, how we look at it through the prism of today. So it was fun. I mean, Bodyline is about class. It's about inferiority complex. It's about class in terms of Australia and England. It's class in terms of Douglas Jardine and Harold Larwood. Class also in terms of how the MCC treated the pair of them. So the MCC treated Douglas Jardine as badly as they did Harold Larwood. People think, well, they'll stick by Douglas Jardine because he's Oxford and Harlequin, an England captain, and Larwood's a miner's son from Nottingham. They treated them as badly as each other. It was to do with trade. It's to do with post-war. It's to do with sportsmanship. It's to do with how you're supposed to behave. It's to do with colonialism. Do you see what I'm getting at? This is why it's not just a sports story. There are so many layers to it. So very quickly, first series we've done the Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier trilogy of fights, which is amazing. Battle of the Sexes, Bobby Riggs playing against Billie Jean King. Dirtiest race in history, the 88 Olympic final in Seoul. Ooh. You can see where we're coming from. So, and then we've got a bonus episode on a Thursday that you'll like this one, where we've done things like, why is it called Silly Mid-Off? And what's the World Conquer Championships all about? So it's been great fun. You never know with anything in life, Darren. All you know is give it your best shot, work hard, be authentic. But I'm really happy with how the first 2 episodes have sounded. So it's how it all played out. We'd love people to subscribe and rate us and tell their friends, and we'll see where the journey takes us.
Yeah, I'm mass-
Cricket wise, next series I really want to do Kerry Packer because that when you and I were kids, that changed cricket completely.
Oh, that's right. Everything we see today and take for granted, much of
Yeah.
it was originated by Kerry Packer in the World
Oh,
Series.
totally, totally, absolutely. Floodlights, coloured clothing, proper pay, commercialism, advertising. Daffy Duck, we don't have him anymore. Remember Daffy Duck walking off when you got no? Yeah, completely, completely Packer. Absolutely.
Bring him back, I say.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking. It's good because I try to be a broad church on this show. I mean, yes, we are cricket, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think you and I have talked about this before. You just because you like cricket doesn't mean you don't like football or
Of
rugby or
course.
whatever. We're all sports
I know I
fans.
know very few I know very few people who love sport who only love one sport. That'd be like saying, well, I like beer and nothing else. I don't like wine, I don't like gin, I love it. Or I like chicken and no other meat. I mean, you'd be a bit odd if you're that person, wouldn't you? There's a chance the chances are you're going to like quite a few things. And we know lots of cricketers love. I mean, Graham Gootes, loves West Ham.
Oh,
They all love golf. Apparently, a bit too much, allegedly. They're like horse racing. We all know that. I think most people. I don't know anybody really I've met or played cricket over the years who cricket's the only sport they're interested in. It really isn't the case.
mm. And actually, when you meet a lot of these, as you say, you meet a lot of these professional cricketers or professional sportsmen, the last thing they want to talk about is, oh, that 50 you got back in whatever
Oh,
else.
gotcha. Oh, gotcha. To be honest with you, I mean, when I go out in the evening, the last thing I want to talk about is football. It really is the last. I'm much happy. I'm much happy if someone's talking to me about cricket because that's why I don't work on it professionally now. It's my relaxation. We could talk about. I want to talk about where does Jamie Smith bat and does Ollie Pope drop down the order and how do we get Bethel in the team and are we going to take a spinner to Australia or not? That's the things I want to talk about.
You and Ali McCoist.
Yeah, Ali absolutely love. I mean, genuinely loves cricket. Genuinely loves cricket. I think this summer's going to be really interesting because of that whole Bethel Pope spinner issue is going to be really interesting for England. Do you know what I mean? There's going to be a bit of a knock-on effect there. Bashir did well the other day. Is he going to be England's spinner in Australia? Are they going to take one? I was talking to Monty Panesar the other day. He was very much no. Root and Bethel can do the job. Unless you're Graham Swan, England's finger spinners have no record in Australia at all. Give it to Root and Bethel, you'd have another. You can get another quick bowler in there.
Sam Cooke?
Yeah, was he quick enough?
I think that's the problem.
You looked at his numbers, weren't you? That's going to be his issue. Do they think he's going to be quick enough in Australia? If you're touching 80, maybe not. I mean, it's fairly obvious what England's approach is going to be in Australia, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jeffrey Boycott, I saw in the Telegraph, said it was a one-trick pony. Well, maybe, but they need. As things stand, you think they feel the selectors they'll need to get 2 or 3 tests out of each of Wood and Archer, probably, don't they, in Australia? Then you've got Cars, you've got Atkinson, you've got Tongue, who is quick. I know, well, in there. Stokes, obviously. I think you can see from here what their thinking is.
I'll talk about Australia and the Ashes down under. It's probably worth reminding listeners about your earlier podcast, which was is that still available on Audi?
I think so. I hope so. Yeah, so it's good. England don't win in Australia very often, do they? So I was 86, 87. Yeah, well, that says it all, Darren. They won then. They won, and then they won under Strauss, and that's twice in 45 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that shows how hard it is, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed listening to that. That was just for a bit of info for people. It was when Mark and a young friend of his decided to head down to Australia and do some backpacking and take some cricket in at the same time.
Yeah, and we did all that. It was brilliant. Chris Broad made 3 centuries. Both of them hit Merv Hughes all around the Gabba, the old Gabba, which had a dog track around it in the first test. That was brilliant. Australia picked the wrong Taylor in the last test. Yeah, and we spoke to Peter Taylor, Peter who, for it. It was great value. Alan Border went, right, never again after this shambles. And by the way, he was right, never again until 2005. Yeah.
Yeah, that 20 years ago. Can you believe it?
I know. That is terrifying, isn't it? That is terrifying.
Okay, so just to remind everyone that the new podcast is out, how it all played out on Global
Well,
Player.
it's Global Player or wherever you get it. It's on Spotify as well. You know, they're all. But Global Player, Global is the, as I say, it's the media company that hosts it. You can get it any of the good podcast providers.
Excellent. Well, Mark, always great to catch up. Many thanks for giving me your time to come on 98 Not Out. Always a pleasure. And hopefully I'll bump into you at Lord's or one of the other test grounds over the summer.
I hope,
Watch a bit of test match
I hope
cricket.
so too, Darren. I hope so. Thank you for having me as always.
Well, Pougatch, brilliant to talk and many thanks.